Happy holidays, everyone. Joker back at you again, doing something that I haven't done in quite a few years. That is just doing a hypothetical PC build shopping guide / list. And with this one, I wanted to take a look at what would be my dream PC build for the end of 2021. A lot of this hardware, well, not a lot of it, a couple of components could be virtually impossible or absolutely ass-rapey to get, but some of them you actually can buy. And if I was doing some upgrades right now, there were some things in this list that I honestly wouldn't even need to buy because I could still use my 3080 Ti absolutely perfectly fine. I could, move over a lot of my SSDs and things like reuse my power supply. So we'll kind of touch on all of that throughout this PC build. But yeah, this is just basically my dream build for the end of 2021. If everything was available and I just had unlimited resources, or I could just give a shopping list to someone for everything that I want in a PC, this is the system I would personally build for myself. So let's get fired into it, shall we? But first, today's video is brought to you by PrimeTechMart.com, where you can save money on software like Windows 10 Pro licenses for under $25. They've also got Windows 10 Home for under $20, and now Windows 11 Pro you can grab over on PrimeTechMart.com. They've also got Office 2019 and the new Office 2021. And if you want to save an additional 20% at checkout on Windows 10 or any other software, go ahead and click Buy It Now. And during the checkout process, go ahead and put JP20 in and apply that coupon, and that'll give you 20% off of any software that you happen to pick up over there. So for Windows 10 Pro, you can see it dropped our price down from $24.46 to under $20. So be sure to hit up the links down in the description below, and don't forget to use my coupon code JP20 at checkout for an additional 20% off. So all the parts I'm going to cover in this build, they're going to be linked down below on Amazon, and they are affiliate links. So if you happen to buy anything that I talk about here in this video, or even if you pick up something else on Amazon, so even if you're just planning on doing any last minute holiday shopping and you click on one of those links down below and then you go buy, a pair of socks for your significant other, I'll still get a kickback on that. So I appreciate if you guys go ahead and use those links. Helps me to support this channel and to support my family. So I do appreciate you guys using those links, even if you don't pick up anything that I cover here in this video. But first, we got to start off with the processor, which is one thing I have recently been thinking about upgrading. I'm still on a 9900K, which is absolutely fine. It's awesome for gaming. But don't get me wrong, the new 12900Ks have been really exciting, reading about all the stuff like that. And also, I have a friend who just recently got one, and he won't stop talking about it. The P cores, the E cores, the tinkering, the tweaking. There's not a whole lot you can do, it seems, as far as overclocking these things, but there's so many little tiny settings that you can kind of set with the P cores, E cores, and there's also a lot of negatives with that, like some things with DRM, like where some games just won't work because of it. And I'm sure those things will get ironed out, as we move ahead down the road. But, if I'm picking a processor right now, I'm honestly going for the 12900K. For my personal builds, I've always been an Intel guy. Nothing wrong with AMD. I've just always used Intel processors, and, with the 12 series, Intel definitely took a huge jump forward. So for me, I'd go for the 12900K. And these things, surprisingly, even though they just recently came out, you can find them at reasonable prices. The list price is just over $700. But over on Amazon right now, they have them for $620, which is fairly reasonable, I think, for an 8-core, 16-threaded processor. Technically 24-threaded, if you count the efficiency cores. And, there's a whole lot that goes into that, and there's a lot I still don't even know yet about it, but I knew if I got one of these processors, I would definitely dive in there and do some of the tinkering and tweaking. And that's really what excited me about the 12 series more than anything, is that there's so much stuff to tinker with and learn about. So that's something I would definitely look to do. And yeah, the 12900K is an absolute gaming beast and a fair amount faster per core than my 9900K. It's about time for an upgrade. I like to upgrade pretty much every 3 years, and I think this thing would hold up until the 15 or even the 16 series of Intel processors were to come out. Now, for the motherboard, there's some pretty ridiculous boards out there, and again, this is my dream build, so if I'm just going for the duck's nuts, I'm going for the top-end Asus ROG Maximus Z690 board. Absolutely sexy, is slick as hell, all black on there and everything with some RGB features. And most importantly to me, the reason I would even go for the higher end board is tons of connectivity, the NVMe slots out the wazoo. And the reason I'd go Asus is because of that BIOS flashback button that is on there, which makes it super easy to update your BIOS. And it has saved my bacon a time or two before on other systems where I had issues with the BIOS flash. And the BIOS flashback can pretty much save your motherboard from being bricked if you've ever had any issues updating a BIOS or something like that, or a bad overclock. This can really save you, as you basically just need power to the system and a processor in there, and you don't even need to be able to get into a BIOS screen. You just put in your BIOS USB and hold that button, and it'll update the BIOS, and then the computer will come back to life. It's pretty magical, and it's something I wish more motherboard manufacturers were doing. But this is a $600 board. And it is the PCIe 5 DDR5 board, so finding RAM for it can be a little challenging. It's ridiculously expensive right now. And honestly, I'm on the fence as to whether or not I'd go for DDR5 or not. But I would, like I said, I like to upgrade like every 3 or 4 generations. So I feel like I'd want to get on the forefront and get on there on the DDR5 stuff, even though it's not entirely necessary. And if I was actually trying to upgrade a system right now, I'd probably go DDR4, only because of the scarcity of the DDR5 RAM and the pricing on it. A good mid-range board, though, that I could go for, also DDR5, though. This is the Asus Prime Z690. This is more of their budget line of boards. It's listed at $290, but a very good option. Honestly, I've used several Asus Prime boards. I actually have one currently in my test rig along with the 8700K, and I used one on my previous personal system with a 5820K. So Asus Prime boards have been very good for me, very solid, very stable. Never had a single issue with them, even though they've been some of the more budget-oriented boards, especially when I've gotten them. I believe the one I got for my 5820K was like $120 at Micro Center. Board prices have come up a lot, though, and even for a budget board, this thing still has a decent amount of connectivity at $290. Now, as far as case is concerned, I was looking around. I haven't looked too much into cases. This past year, I saw the Fractal, what was it, the Typhoon or the Airflow one that they made. Great airflow, but ugly as all hell in my personal opinion. And I've used the Phanteks Enthoo Evolve in a previous build, and they have an updated version here, and it won Best Mid-Tower of the Year over on PC Gamer. So I was like, you know what? I really like that case. It's like solid, like aluminum all the way around, very, very heavy duty. And that's the reason I went with the Enthoo Evolve initially with a build back on my 5820K actually. And now the Enthoo Evolve X with RGB is basically an updated version of that. Some better airflow, better cooling, a little bit more better cable routing and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I think that's probably the case I would go with. I would probably do a little bit more research into the market. But I love the way these cases look, and I like the silver model. There's also a black one. They might do some other colors as well. But the silver I'd probably go for. Go Raiders, got to get that silver and black in there somehow. And something I did look into a little bit more was coolers, because the 12900K can be very, very hard to cool, especially, in gaming or doing video renders and all that stuff can get very, very warm. So the EK All-in-One Elite 360mm RGB seems to be the best all-in-one cooler on the market. Of course, you could do a custom liquid cooling loop. Not my jam, not something I'm really into doing at all. If you want to do it, bless you, like nothing against doing it for other people if they want to do it. I just don't want to spend the time doing it and dealing with all of that. Just personally has no interest to me. I've used all-in-ones for years, and I'll continue to use them for the foreseeable future because it really just seems to do all that I need. On my 9900K, I currently have a 360mm all-in-one, the Fractal Celsius, what is the S36, I guess it would be, since it's a 360mm AIO. And, even on the 900K, that CPU can definitely get up into the 70s when I'm rendering out 4K videos. And the EK AIO, the EK makes great products, custom water cooling products, I should say. And I used their original all-in-one cooler, which actually had some issues with the pump. I'm assuming, since the reviews are amazing now, and there's a lot of recommendations out there online for it, that the EK AIO Elite has probably hashed out some of the issues they had on their earlier designs from like 4 or 5 years ago on the one that I had issues with. And I love their Vardar fans as well. Those are really, really good. So yeah, I'd go with the EK AIO at $210. And at the end of this, I will give you a tally on what this entire build would cost. Now, RAM, Again, this is another thing. This would hold me back from getting a DDR5 board, if I'm being honest. But dream build, I'm going with DDR5 on this. I'd probably go with, there's so few options as far as anything I could even bring up on Amazon. Like pretty much everything is all on eBay for ridiculous prices like this 32 gigabyte RAM kit for $1,200. Like, yeah, this is a sick RAM kit, and I would love to use this RAM kit, but I'm not going to pay $1,200 for it. Get out of here. I'd pay like maybe $400, $500, but it would have to be 64 gigs. I need the 64 gigs. And unfortunately, right now, it's all from third-party sellers, and it's complete ass rape. But in a perfect world, I'd go for the Dominator Platinum and just really go balls to the walls. This is my dream build. And in regards to that, I'd go with an RTX 3090 if I needed a graphics card. But I already have a 3080 Ti, so yes, I could reasonably upgrade my current system, keep the case, get a new water cooler for that if I wanted to, get 12900K and a good DDR4 motherboard, carry over my RAM, carry over my 3080 Ti, and I'll be off to the races and running. Which, in reality, if I'm upgrading my current system, that is what I would do. But if I'm starting from scratch, dream build, I'm going 3090. I want the extra RAM, the extra VRAM. I'm sorry, like, that's what I'm going for. I want that 24 gigs. There are certain applications for making videos and stuff that I could use that VRAM for, and also for gaming. Nice, since I game at 4K. And I would go for the 3090, or, in case you guys don't know, there's a current rumored 3090 Ti coming out, and there was actually a leaked picture of the packaging. You can see the Asus TUF card right here. And oddly enough, the Asus TUF is what I would go with. If I was picking a 3090 today, or even a 3080 Ti model or something, I'd probably go for the Asus TUF card. It was my favorite one of the whole generation, just from afar, obviously, watching. I've never had a 3090, didn't have an Asus TUF card, but I've watched a number of reviews, read a lot of stuff online about them, and the Asus TUF cards seem to be some of the best ones out there. So in a perfect world, that's the card I would get, even though it's listed at $3,000 right now. You could probably knock that down to, if it was regular MSRP, we're talking like probably $1,800, which is still a hell of a lot of money for a graphics card, and they'll probably have a 40 series out in 2022, I'm guessing, or maybe early 2023. So it wouldn't be really worth going out and spending even $1,800 or $1,500 on a 3090 right now, in my opinion. Especially, like I said, since I got a 3080 Ti, if I'm upgrading my system, I'm keeping my 3080 Ti. I'm not going out and spending $3,000 on this card, but it's a dream build. And, with that, I would definitely need some hot storage in there, some NVMe drives. I'd probably grab 2 of these 980 Pro Samsungs. Yeah, get 2 terabyte drives. Might just do a 1 terabyte drive for the boot. I have a 1 terabyte NVMe in my system now, and I only use it for the boot. I don't really put a whole lot of stuff on there. So don't really need a whole lot of extra storage because I prefer to have additional drives for other stuff. So 1 terabyte would be more than enough for the boot drive, but I would definitely throw in a 2 terabyte NVMe for like video files and moving that stuff around. And then for bulk storage, I'd probably grab 2 of these 8 terabyte Iron Wolf Seagate drives, one for storing video files for work, and the other one basically for my Plex server because I had a 3 terabyte drive die on me earlier this year, so I'm a little bit limited on storage. So I actually am looking to get a hard drive, and I may pick one of these up around the holidays here, as these do appear to be currently on sale for the Seagate Iron Wolf 8 terabyte drives, and they are some of the best-in-class drives you can get right now. Very fast, secure, because they're made for NASs, for network attached storage, so hopefully should last me a lot of years if using it mostly, like I said, storing video files for work, like finished video stuff, and then also for my Plex server to run movies off of. Also, Matrix Resurrection's out today, watching that later today. And then power supply, kind of boring, but I'd go with an EVGA. EVGA uses SuperFlow or PSUs, some of the best you can get, and I'd go for the 1200 Platinum. Also, because right now there was a decent price on it. Like you can go for 1,000 watt, probably going to be fine, but the 3090s and 3080 Ti's even, they can get very power hungry, especially on the custom variants, can get over 400 watts of power if you're pushing the clocks up and stuff and the power limitations of it. So I'd go for the 1200, mostly because it was like a fair price, like the 850 watt, if we look at that. That was $239. The 1,000 watt was $227. So that's also like kind of marked down. And at that point, you may as well spend $288 and get the 1,200 watt. They also have a 1,600 watt, but that one was a bit more pricey. It was $550. So there's like no deals to be had on that. But the 1,200 watt was a fairly reasonable price for what this power supply is. And if you're going platinum anyway, and EVGA, why get an 850 if you could spend another $30, $40 and get the 1,200 watts? So that's sort of some of the reasoning, why I'd go for this build. Again, I've said it probably a dozen times throughout this video, but this is just my dream build. If I could build anything right now from scratch and there was no issues with supply or, money or whatever, and I just didn't give a shit about what I was spending, this is the system I would go for. But as I said throughout the video, there are certain caveats and things I would change if I was actually going to do this. Like if I was actually trying to upgrade my current system, I'd probably keep my current case. I'd probably keep my current power supply. I'd move over most of my hard drives and probably just get one of those 8 terabyte drives because I actually really do need one. And I'd upgrade my CPU and motherboard, keep the current RAM and get a DDR4 board, and probably get the new EK water cooler to cool the processor. Even though my Fractal 360mm would probably do fine as well, I think I would just go for the EKAO because I would enjoy doing it. But all in all, at the end of the day, based on the prices that Amazon currently has, the total cost of the build I added up would be $6,910. Ouch. And, if we take off things like the overhead for like the extra charges that they have on the graphics card, which you could probably knock off $1,000 for that. The RAM should be a good $500-700 cheaper. We're talking about knocking this down to probably closer to $5,000 flat, I would say, is what this build would cost if everything cost what it was supposed to cost. And then, I added up, if I wanted to just do the motherboard and the processor, keep my current RAM, get a cooler, then we're looking at maybe $1,200-1,300 I could go ahead and upgrade my system for, which is something I may end up actually doing here in the very near future. I've tried reaching out to Intel for $1,200K. It doesn't sound like I'm getting one. I haven't heard a word back from them in months. It is what it is. So maybe I will do an upgrade soon, though. And if I do, like I said, I'll grab the $1,200K DDR4 board, keep my current RAM, keep my NVMe, and my other M.2 drives that I have, upgrade my mass storage because I do need a big drive for Plex and for video file storage. So those are all some things that I may actually do, but in a perfect world, $6,910 for this dream build. Let me know down in the comments below, though. Again, links for everything are going to be down there. What would you change if this was your dream build? If you could build any PC right now from scratch, which of these components would you change? Would you go AMD? Obviously, also a really great option with the 5950X. Again, the things that kind of persuaded me to the $1,200K is that if in a perfect world, if I could get all the RAM and everything, I like the idea of going to DDR5 and also tinkering with the P cores and the E cores. So that kind of excited me. And they also seem to be beating AMD on this new generation anyway. In previous years, AMD's been getting better and better and better, and their 5000 series was spanking them up until the release of the 12900K, which seems to be the current gaming king, which is really why I would go for it. If I just wanted cores and threads, I'd go AMD all day and get the extra cores and threads. But I primarily use it for gaming, and I also can use it to render and edit videos, and an 8-core 24-thread, whatever you want to call it, would be absolutely fine for me. I don't have any issues rendering out videos on my 9900K. I mostly just kind of want to get the extra gaming performance for some games that are CPU limited to maybe only a few threads, and having the faster cores, faster threads, I think would help me out a little bit there. So that's why I'm sort of throwing around the idea of grabbing a 12900K here in the near future. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I hope you guys all have a happy holiday, whatever you happen to celebrate. Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, nothing, whatever, have a good one anyway. And I'll catch you next time for another video.